So if I were putting together a list of what novels I would recommend to anyone learning to write, Because of Winn-Dixie by DiCamillo would be at the top of that list. For those of you who haven't read the novel, and for those who haven't, why not? Go out, read it, it's excellent. But if you haven't read the novel, Because of Winn-Dixie is about a 10-year-old girl named Opal who has just moved to a new town with her preacher father. And the story is basically about her trying to make friends in this new town, and also about her trying to come to grips with her mother not being there. Her mother abandoned her and her father sometime in the past when Opal was really little. And how these two storylines fuse together is through Winn-Dixie, a stray dog who she meets in a grocery store. It's through this dog that she meets and befriends people throughout the town, and it's through this dog that she comes to grips with her mother leaving her. Anyway, that's the basic story, but the story is somewhat tangential to why I'm recommending the novel for writers. The reason I'm recommending it is because it helps to answer two questions that writers are always thinking about. How do I create a great narrator? And how do I characterize? Now, the first question, how do I create a great narrator? Let me first say that Opal, the first-person narrator of Because of Winn-Dixie, is the best narrator that I've ever come across. And what's so impressive about that is that DiCamillo doesn't bend over backwards with all kinds of fancy tricks or a bunch of slang or anything like that. She's much more subtle than that. There's just these little things here and there that make the narration jump off the page. For example, here's what's said when Opal first meets Winn-Dixie. And then the dog came running around the corner. He was a big dog and ugly, and he looked like he was having a real good time. It's sentences like that last one, and the way it's juxtaposed with the two sentences that come before it, that makes Opal so special. What we have here is an instance of amplification, sometimes called auxesis. Don't worry, there's no test. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing it right. But in this case, the amplification or auxesis is used ironically. The first two sentences ought to have been followed by something like, and really scary, so that you get, he was a big dog and ugly and really, really scary. But instead we get essentially the opposite. It's tiny little things like that peppered throughout the story that make Opal such a remarkable narrator. Like I said, nothing frilly, nothing flashy, nothing that jumps off the page saying, look at me! Just tiny little things. Now, the second question. What DiCamillo tends to have Opal do throughout the novel is, she'll either give you a few brief remarks about the characters as they are introduced, or she'll give you a brief scene to try to help you wrap your head around a character. There's nothing particularly special about this. In fact, you could argue that it's a technique for creating flat characters, not fully fledged out characters. But that's what makes it so special in this novel, because a character starts out as kind of flat, but as the story moves on, they grow to become round. In other words, it's like DiCamillo is planting a seed, showing you the potential of the character in the beginning, but then allowing that seed to grow into a beautiful flower. Okay, so now you have a novel to look at in order to improve your ability to create a great narrator and to learn some tricks about how to characterize. Of course, as always, you have to decide whether those techniques will work best for you in whatever you're writing. But it's always good to see how a master handles a problem, and Kate DiCamillo, even though her primary audience is children, is still a master. So check out Because of Winn-Dixie the next time you get a chance. Toodaloo!